Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we starting to come to the end of the show. Right now, I want to take the time out. Peace. This is Joshua Miller Law, Mr. PhD. You're just now entering the cipher called Real2reel360. K-Wise. Peace, God. Bring that beat in, kid. Indeed. Peace. Yeah. What's going on, party people? Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Let's get it in. We do the knowledge and wisdom so you can understand. Real360 shows in full command. We changing the game for how it all was taught. From bondage to freedom to an independent thought. Yo, the show is here to bring about a change for real. To lighten everyone so we all know the deal. 360 degrees is a fact. We created the show to give our love back to our communities so we can know what's going on and give them the support from knowledge to porn. So if you're ready to learn, then it's time to go. Sit back and relax and enjoy your show. Peace. Peace and blessing to Allah's mighty 5% nation of gods on earth, and to all the human families of the planet Earth. I bid you a love, peace, and happiness salute. I am DJ K-Wise Allah, aka Kato, the black superhero. Welcome to the Real2reel360 show. Without further ado, let's jump into it and get right on point. I'm bringing up the co-host with the most. Y'all know who he is. My right-hand man, my brother in God, none other than Joshua Miller Law, a.k.a. who? Mr. PhD. Let's go, y'all.
Am I the meanest?
Sure enough.
Am I the baddest mofo low down around this time?
Sure enough.
But who am I?
Joshua Miller Law.
Who am I?
Joshua Miller Law.
I can't hear you.
Joshua Miller Law, Mr. PhD.
Peace.
Peace to the lost 5% nation of gods on earth. I want to start off tonight by saying thank you and salute to Christian Lawson, who have became a sponsor for Real2reel360. Also to Valency, which is a clothing line that became a sponsor for Real2reel360. Let's say salute. Thank you for your support going forward. Any individual who's looking to get some high-end watches and clothes, we will definitely be able to send y'all the code so y'all can get the discounts and everything else. But today we're going to start it off. We're going to deal with a subject that's interesting for the most part, because when we talk about families, things of that nature, and children, some people have consciously made a decision not to have children. And with this episode, we're going to discuss that and other different various of these situations. We're going to start out with a recurring psychiatrist, therapist, friend to our show, family member.
That's right.
I don't know. There's so many superlatives we give this lady. It's ridiculous. But
there's so many titles she got right now with us.
So many titles. Also, you know, she worked with the children in college, and she's a great therapist and a friend to us. So bring on Dr. Angela L. Harris.
Just give her a round of applause, y'all.
Yes. Hey. So
what's going on, sis?
Before we even, y'all gave me a lot of superlatives. So party people out there, I am not a psychiatrist. I do not have an MD. So I just wanted to make sure that before people start asking me to prescribe the medication, I am not a psychiatrist. I'm trained as a clinical psychologist. I was a former therapist, and now I'm the assistant dean of students at a small liberal arts college. So I was just like, hold up. But thank you. And I am so excited to be back with you guys. Salute to you guys, Josh Jamel. I love that intro. Like, I was cracking up. I love that, because I think that's from a movie, like an old movie, right? It's like, I love how you put your name in there. And again, salute to you, K-Wise. I've been watching you do your thing on TikTok, and the music, the flow. And even when y'all had me backstage, just listening to y'all intro, I was just like, All right, so I am glad to be back with you guys in a different form, but I missed you guys.
We appreciate it.
Appreciate it definitely. And let's get off into it, Dr. Harris. For those who don't know, and you just said a brief about what you do professionally, but we haven't spoke about what you invest your time in, and also too have started a platform for those who are child free. And what was the reason for starting a platform for child free?
Yeah, good question. So, for those who don't remember, I was here a while ago, I think last year, May sometime, for Mental Health Awareness Month. And I talked about mental health because I'm a mental health advocate, Harris 316 Consulting and Services, another brand. But in regards to what I'm here to talk about tonight, is my other passion, NoBibsBurpsBottles. And what that is an online brand and community that empowers, celebrates, highlights African American, Black, child-free women. And it's really child-free by choice or child-free by circumstance. But to really break that down, it's women who have decided in this lifetime they don't want children for a variety of different reasons. So when I was looking for women and sisters that look like me, the field of women who did not want to be mothers was dominated by white women. And I knew for a long time, but couldn't really put words to it on why I didn't feel maternal. I was just like, I felt so much guilt. Like I should want kids, but I really don't. And so when I started really exploring further, there was information and research out there, but again, it was not women that looked like me. So I said, if I'm feeling like this, I know that there might be other sisters who are feeling like this. And so I decided to create NoBibsBurpsBottles. The name speaks for itself. I wanted something that was going to be catchy. It could be a mouthful, but I wanted something that's going to represent kind of where I am and the choice that I've made. And where I am is that I am a sister who never felt maternal, and didn't have a strong pull or desire to want to be a mom or have children. I wanted a family, and my vision of a family was me and a partner, but I never necessarily felt this pull or desire like some women or a lot of women who really like, oh, I want to be a mom. I want to be a mom. And I want to make sure that even before I go further, NoBibsBurpsBottles, it's not a bash to women or mothers. I come from a mother. We all come from mothers. But it was something that I didn't want for myself. And I needed to own that. I needed to appreciate that. And I wanted others to respect that. And I carved out a lane for other women like me.
Okay. So when did you come to the realization where you didn't feel maternal or you actually did not want children? Because what you just stated about how you didn't feel it. When did you acknowledge the fact that you didn't want children?
Good question again. So I get that question asked a lot when I'm being interviewed. And some women are like, I knew at 13, I knew at 8. I would say that it came really kind of at the end of my 20s when I was just like, okay, I want to go to graduate school. I want to get a good job. I want to really be a leader within my field in my career. I want to get my doctorate degree. So I would say mid to late 20s is when I was just like, nah, I don't really want to be a mom. And quite frankly, again, I needed to own this. I love kids to a certain extent, right? And people need to understand that you cannot want children, but that doesn't mean that you hate children. So I have I have nephews, I have goddaughters who I love, who I appreciate, who I believe I've instilled positivity in their lives. But I would say probably mid 20s to late 20s when I was just like, I'm different. But then I realized I'm not, based on all the women that follow me on Instagram. And so I would say mid 20s, late 20s, when I just said, no, I'm going to realize that I'm not maternal, and I'm going to appreciate and respect where I am in life, that I don't want kids. It was nothing that I ever chased. Some people talk about having this yearning to be a mom. They knew they're playing with dolls, and all they've ever dreamed about, especially when they get their menstrual cycle and they're like, I want to be a mom. I was far, far away from that. I was on the other end of that spectrum.
Right, because a lot of times people will wonder, working in human service fields or working in education with young adults and teenagers, um, not feeling maternal, but yet still working with the youth. Um, how how do that feel like you? Because you're basically mothering children who are at school, at
Yes.
college, at university. So how you don't have that maternal instinct?
Yeah. And so I started to reframe it for myself, honestly. And again, I went from I'm not maternal. I don't want 5 kids. I don't want to be pushing a stroller. But then I realized I am maternal because it takes a maternal instinct to want to invest in young people. And so when I reframed it for myself, it was yes, these college students that I mentor, that I instill positivity in, that I challenge sometime, that I actually love, they are my children in a different sense, right? And so when I have an 18-year-old that I saw 20, 30 years ago, who they're now in their late 30s, I'm like, I knew you when you were 18. And they're like, Dean Harris, thank you for molding me, for shaping me, for believing in me. Oh, Dean Harris, I just had a baby of my own, or I just got married, or I just got a family. Or Dr. Harris, thank you for sitting down with me when I was confused about life. Those are individuals who I see as my little kids, not necessarily obviously giving birth to, but birthing their greatness, because I was the spark that lit the flame in them. And so when I get that feedback that you were like an auntie to some of the sisters that I mentored throughout the years, you were like my mom because they came from a disruptive home, that actually brings me joy. And it makes me emotional because although I don't have kids of my own, and that was not my desire, I have a bunch of young people and young adults who remember our relationship as one being important to them.
Okay. So when was the first year you started No Bibs, Burps, and that's a mouthful.
Bottles.
Bottles, yeah.
I
No
told you
Bibs, Burps, and
it
that's a
could be
mouthful.
it could be a mouthful. Sometimes I say you can just say B3 because there's 3 B's in it, or
Uh,
NBBB. So whatever, I'm used to saying it. So really back in 2016, I started collecting research and surveying Black women who were in the age demographic of between 30 and 45. And I collected a lot of data in hopes to kind of pull something together that was going to push me forward in regards to a platform, a book, a course. And it really started where I said, if I feel this way, there gotta be other sisters that feel the same exact way. So I would say the end of 2016 going into 2017, I was able to collect 67 surveys from women asking about why didn't you want kids? Did you want to be married? What were the reasons that you didn't want children? How did your family? So it was about 30 questions. Collected some really good data that I'm pulling together for some good things that are going to be happening this year or in the future.
well, I'm
Okay.
glad you took that survey because some of those questions is what we're about to ask you.
Can I interject and go on? We got some of the our audiences that wanted to say, and at one point, as a teenager, I thought I wanted to have 4 kids. That quickly changed in my 30s.
Yeah.
Excuse me, in the 20s. And it was then I knew I didn't want to have a child.
Yeah. Shout out to you, and shout out to hopefully some of my child-free besties are in the building listening and supporting your girl. But yeah, it was a lot of great communication between me and sisters, them sharing their stories with me on why they're like, no, Angela, you're not the only one. And I actually have these type of conversations all the time with sisters in my DMs, on Instagram, on my post. And I felt validated, to be quite honest. I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one that gets annoyed a little bit when a baby cries. It's not just me. Or I'm not going to be the first to volunteer to babysit. That's not just. So when other sisters started to validate that, again, people will associate not wanting kids with hating kids. And that's simply not true. Now, yeah, there are some women who are like, listen, I'm not the one. But for the most part, we are all somehow, we are involved in children's lives at some point. Many of the sisters have nephews and nieces, but that doesn't mean that they want that for themselves. And that's okay. And that's what I try to validate in my community and definitely within myself.
Okay, now how do you deal with the family pressure of like your parents talking about they want grandchildren and things of that nature? How do you deal with that type pressure when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to those type of questions, and how being child free is being received by your family?
Yeah, good question. So I think since I've started No Bibs Burps Bottles, my family has just been pretty supportive in everything I do, from my mental health advocacy work to No Bibs Burps Bottles. So the pressure I can't say was as deep or thick as some other sisters that I've talked to. I definitely think that my parents would say they wanted me to settle down, get married. And again, I think it's just the automatic vision that society has placed, right? You finish high school, maybe you get a good job, you go to college, you find a partner, you settle down, you get a white house with a white picket fence, with a white dog, and you have a bunch of kids. And that's the American way, right? And so I think my parents just want me to be happy. I believe they still want me to be married. I believe I think at times my sister's like, I wanted a little nephew or a niece too. But my sister also knows that I'm in myself a lot. I like to travel. I like to do my own thing. Some may say that's selfish. I say it's living Angela's life, right? So
Right.
I think my parents and my sister, my family are proud of me. Now, when I talk about my extended family, I'm pretty sure my grandparents, especially my grandfather, my paternal grandfather, wanted us to be married and have kids because that came from that strong religious Christian foundation. Be fruitful and multiply. My dad also is one of 15 children. So, it was a big family. So you have kids. My dad only had my sister and I, so he did not follow in his father's footsteps of 15 kids. But my parents and my sister, I would say, are very proud of me. And they have been proud and supported me in everything that I've done in my life.
That's great to hear. Now, when it comes to, say, you go and you lecture and you speak and you get in front of audiences and you speak to young ladies who are in the same situation, but they want to be married. How do you address the situation with wanting to have a husband by having to explain to your husband that you don't want any children?
Yeah. So that can go in so many different ways. And again, I have these conversations because when I did my research, some women, a subset of the women that I interviewed, they wanted children at one point, but they wanted it in the context of marriage. I recently saw a sister on TikTok and she was just like, yeah, I want kids, but I just don't want to be a single mama. I don't want just a baby daddy. I want a husband. So stop shunning me that I'm waiting to be married. So in my research, some of the women wanted kids, but they wanted it in the context of marriage. And then you look up, you're 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, and there's a shift that happens in a woman's body that at some point does not allow you to have children. And so then you start to say, well, I'm not going to just have a baby just to have it. There's no potential partner. So now I have to reframe what my life is going to look like. And it's going to look like me embracing that I don't have children and I'm going to embrace this child-free life. There are other women and sisters that I've talked to. They've known at a very young age that they did not want children. I've met a close friend on Instagram through my platform where she became sterilized and she went through the procedure because she was that serious of, yes, I'm actually enjoying my sexual life and I don't want to get caught out there. So I'm going to opt into sterilization because I know I don't want children. So I think there are different ways in which Black women specifically will have that conversation. And it's, I don't want kids, do you? If a man says or a woman says, yes, I want kids, I see a family, then that woman now has the choice to walk out of that relationship. And I coach and really encourage women to have that conversation early on when you're dating, because you might find you're like, oh, we vibing, and I see him being I'm going to take his last name, and then you find out, at 45 he wants 3 more kids. Well, where do you stand with that? Because there are a lot of conversations that are not happening that need to happen. So women, I encourage them to have the conversation, not on date number 1, but if you have it on date number 1, there's nothing wrong with it, but you need to be open. And I've had conversations with sisters where they are married and their husband is now like, I thought you said we were going to have kids. And they're like, no, when I met you, I told you I didn't want kids. So conversations just need to happen.
This before you go to the next joint, y'all. I do want to say you do have a couple of your besties in the panel right here. That's making their comments.
Besties.
You
I
got
can't
Asia,
see you guys.
Yeah, Asia Wilder,
Woohoo.
Lovely. I want to say I don't want to mess this up. Looks like Lovely Laos 02 or Jazz. Okay, make sure. And then also we got VLM123.
Hey V.
She said when she was married and got sterilized too, because her ex-husband wouldn't get a vasectomy. That made me wonder whether or not he was ever serious about not wanting a child. And then she says, I don't have a plant, LOL. I have 2 cats before though. Because another comment prior to that said, the best I can do is a plant.
And it's also, again, we're not old cat ladies. People think like, and again, on NoBibsBurpsBottles, I really try to empower the sisters and empower myself that I'm not going to let society dictate that I'm unhappy, I'm lonely, I'm shriveled up because I don't have a partner, a husband, or children. Because sometimes you can get in your head, and especially at that ripe age of 30, when you're looking at your life and society tells you at 30 you should be married and have all these things, and then you look up and you're past 30 and you're 40 and you're 45 or older, society, your family, your community can make you feel as if something is wrong with you. I had a situation probably maybe 5 years ago out with my sorority sisters, met someone and they're like trying to vibe. And they're like, oh, are you married? No. Oh, you're not married? How old are you? Tell them my age. Oh, okay. You have children? No. You don't have any kids? You didn't send your kids down south with your mama? And I'm like, there was this assumption that, and the approach was, there's something wrong with you because you're over 30, over 40, and you don't have kids and you're not married. So yeah, I think you're crazy and I'm not going to deal with you. And those are assumptions that people have of child-free women.
Okay, now I have a question, and maybe to the audience, to you. We're talking about child-free and consciously sterilizing yourself, right? In an era and time where people are going to sperm banks, have in vitro, and all these other things. How is it that consciously you feel about sterilizing yourself? And I see that in the comment it was talking about the ex-husband. He had children already, so he didn't want any more. So he was willing to have a vasectomy. Those who don't have children are consciously now sterilizing themselves.
Yeah, so I'll let the chat do their thing, but I'm not sterilized. And actually, I never thought about that. That was just nothing that I personally thought about. But I encourage and empower women that if that is a conscious, you've thought that out, and that's what you want for yourself, then I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader in regards to what you want to do with your body. And there are sisters, young. I've seen a sister on TikTok. I think she was 24. I don't want kids. She got sterilized at 24. There are women who are thinking about the implications of being mothers when they don't really want to, and if you have a oopsie, sometimes you have to make a different kind of choice. So I applaud sisters who are thinking intentionally about their bodies and saying, if I don't want children, then what am I going to do to prevent that? I can't rely on my man whose pullout game is weak to then impact my life, right? Or you get caught up in the moment and no one has a condom, no one took their pill. And so I applaud women who are taking ownership of their bodies, and more specifically, taking ownership of their lives. Because we all on this call know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody who had children who they are not the best parent. I've talked to clients who they're like, I didn't even ask to be born in this world, and my mom is a hot mess, and this is my life.
Well, can I add to that though? Because I'm curious, like, for those who don't want any children or whatever, and I look at it as like it's almost a human waste if they could donate maybe the sperm and the eggs for someone who wants children but's not able to carry or produce the eggs for themselves, but might be able to carry and stuff like that. So wouldn't that be a thought of interest to those who may not want the kids, but maybe wanting to help others who can't?
Yeah, K-Wise, I think that's a good question. I think that's definitely one option of many, right? And so I think if there's a woman who have decided, hey, I don't want children for myself, but I know that I'm fertile, or I've taken some tests to see that I'm fertile, there are women who donate their eggs, just like there are men who donate their sperm. I know a woman who really, really wanted a child. She didn't have a potential partner, wasn't dating anyone, but because they wanted a child, they made the choice to say, I'm going to work with my doctor, work with an infertility clinic, not infertility, but work with the clinic. And now they have a child. That was motherhood was that important that they didn't want to wait for the husband to just fall out the sky. They took their matters into their own hands. But K-Wise, that's another option. I do think women do that. I think women donate their eggs, just like, obviously, because there are women who use other people's eggs because they can't birth themselves.
Right.
So
Excuse me, Dr. Harris. I don't want you to think that I was laughing at what you were saying, but I was laughing at that comment in the chat.
I was too. I had to
can someone tell me to comment, because I can't see.
If my eggs aren't hard boiled, at this point you can have them. Like,
okay.
Okay.
Right.
Now, also too, this is not just a female issue with being child free. It's also a male issue with being child free. How many men have you encountered who never wanted children?
Yeah. And I want to reframe how you're saying it. So I don't think it's an issue. I think it just is, just like you have moms.
My bad.
That's okay. That's,
you know what I mean, the term.
Yeah.
I don't want nobody to be offended, you know what I mean, because of whatever. But it's not just females who don't want children, it's men who don't want children. And how many have you counseled that didn't want children?
So I haven't counseled men. My platform is really dedicated to Black child-free women. However, I just interviewed a Black Caribbean male. This book is awesome. He's a Black male. Forget that I'm having kids, and I guess I'm plugging his book. It's a great book, and I'm excited to release that episode. And he embraces being child-free. He's in his 40s, never wanted kids. And he, like some other men, have decided to take care of that. I also interviewed a child-free couple, and this couple, Black couple, got on my platform and shared with their family in the world that they don't want kids. And he also shared that he got a vasectomy, and they are happy being married, not wanting kids. And so there are a lot of couples and men on Instagram and on social media who are now sharing their story. And I think that's awesome, because I do think that women are we're finding our place, we're finding our groove. And I think that's opening the door and allowing men to say, listen, I'm not going to allow you to put me in a box where I'm another Black man who got 8 baby mamas all over the world, right? And I think a lot of people like to make a joke about Nick Cannon, who has a lot of children by a lot of different women, but there are men who are saying, I don't want my seed planted all over the place. And again, this is not to downplay or dismiss men and women who have multiple children and multiple moms or dads, but it's also about respecting that other people are making different choices. So I myself, really take into my platform and the sisters that I talk to. So I haven't coached Black men, but I would say that Dane Reed's book, being a Black male and sitting down and talking to him. His book is phenomenal, and that podcast episode is also going to be phenomenal. So yeah.
Look at that shameless plug for that No Bibs, Burps, and Bottles. Now,
No Bibs, Burps, Bottles. See how it
right,
rolls off my lips? I say it so much.
you said so much. Now, we spoke earlier, whether you spoke earlier about some women wanting to be married to have children, right? Some women wanting to have a career or have their career, then have children. Do you feel like the reason why some don't have children is because of the time that they had set that they were going to have children and it never came to fruition? Or, you know what I'm saying? Because when you talk about waiting for a husband, right? And you're talking about waiting till your 30s, and then next thing you know, you're in your 40s, and then life change. Then you're talking about going to school, getting your bachelor's, your master's, and then getting established in your career. And then a lot of times after then, life change.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you feel like some are child free because of choice or by force, and being forced because time has ran its course?
Yeah. I think it's all of that, right? It doesn't have to be either or, it could be both
Mhm.
and. I think there are some women who wanted children, wanted a family, wanted marriage. Marriage didn't come for them, so they embraced being child free. I think there are some women who had a plan in mind. I want kids, I want a husband, but I also want to focus on me. I want to set myself up for success. So I want to go to school. I want to put in the hours to get a good job. I want to climb up the corporate ladder. I want to go back and get my doctorate degree. Then I want to be married. So I do think for some women, it's all of that.
I don't know. I
Some
think
would
Doc
like to.
froze, or did I freeze? Okay.
Did I freeze?
No, you're good. You're
No,
good.
Okay.
you're good. You're good. You're good.
Okay. So I think it's all of that, Jashimel. And I meet sisters where they are, right? If you say, I really wanted kids, I'm going to be okay. Now, so how are you feeling about where you are today? Because it is a transition of wanting kids, wanting to be married, seeing yourself as a mom, and then having to transition in your mind psychologically that you are now having to embrace this thing called child free. And for your audience, there is a difference, or within the child-free community, there is a difference between child-free and childless. So child-free tends to be women who know for 99.9 or 100% they didn't want kids, or because they wanted other means, they had to switch to become child-free and embrace that. Childless tends to be women who really desire to be mothers, but there were barriers. So there were infertility problems or miscarriages. So in the child-free community, there's the child-free community, there's the childless. Sometimes they're used interchangeably depending on the platform or who you're talking to. But for some, there is a distinct distinction.
Okay, now let's jump into that. The child free
Mm.
and the childless, right? Child free are those who are consciously the ones who say they don't want children.
They don't want children, or they've embraced their newfound child-free life because of the circumstances. Yes.
Mm.
Okay. Now the childless um female or young lady are ones who had complications, or time has just surpassed that, or speak to that for me, please.
Yeah, most of the time, and again, I don't want to speak for the childless community, but in knowing people who represent that community and talk about that community, and me educating myself on it, childless tends to be women who really desire to have, they're like, mommyhood is my jam. That's what I want. Now we're like, oh, we still haven't gotten pregnant. We've been trying for a year. We still haven't gotten pregnant because we've been trying for 2 years. Wow, we've had a few miscarriages. So there's been complications in them getting pregnant, staying pregnant. And so they are childless because they are mourning this loss of, oh, I really wanted to be a mom. I thought it was going to be good, like sperm, egg, boom. And then you realize, like, ooh, we're having some complications here. And so that's when some of these women take on other measures with their doctors, IVF, infertility clinics, and working with their doctors to become pregnant. because that's their desire. And even when they're seeking out those measures to become pregnant, that could be a whole different loss when you're still not producing or having a baby.
Can I go back? Can I go back to something? If you look back on some of what the comments are coming up, some of your besties when they was referring, when you made the comment in reference about Nick Cannon. Now, I read one of them, and I'm just going to say this. If I was in a position where I know I am well off and well-to-do, and I'm not married, because in this Western Hemisphere, their law of marriage is different from where other people come from. But if I'm able to maintain a child from 20 other women, and I can maintain and take care of each one, and that is my choice as a black man, then it is my choice. It ain't no more choice. I'm supposed to take care of those 20 children, point blank, period. You know, I think people are like looking at Nick in a different way because it ain't them. And they're going to voice their opinions because everybody has a right. But I think, like I said, if you in the position and power to take care of your child from how many you have, you know, so be. Who are we to judge somebody else's position when we don't know?
Mm-hmm. And K-Wise, and again, I think, you know, so many people talk about Nick Cannon, but what makes Nick Cannon different than the brother who also has 20 kids, who's literally is not working, right? He has the means. And again, if he wants to have 30 more kids, so be it. Do I think there might be some implications to those children? Mm-hmm. Perhaps. But he has the means and the financial gains to take care of the kids. Mm-hmm. But again, mm-hmm. I've worked in this field long enough where I've talked to children who their father had 5 different step siblings. And they're like, my dad spent most of his time with this one. Or my dad was able to see these step kids because he was in that household every day. So Nick Cannon, financially, yes, he could probably pay each of their way to college, but is more than means. It's how often are you sitting with that child asking them how their day is?
And again,
you know,
I do agree with you.
No judgment, mm-hmm. but I think that's where a lot of times men and women have these conversations, because when it's all said and done, it's the kid sitting on the step waiting mm-hmm. for their parent to come get them, but that parent has 20 other kids to go visit.
And again, and that's where I say where the conscious part comes in, is having that conversation with each mother prior to even going that route, so that if they have the two of the understanding, and then that's it. Because, you know, if I'm in a position where if I ain't got a pot to piss in the window, throw it out of, I should not be out here trying to populate the earth. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm doing a disservice to my children to have all these kids and can't afford to maintain them and give them that time. Not just talking about the money aspect. Money makes things a little easier. But if you ain't got the money and you ain't got the time, because the most important thing we have in life is the value of our time over the money status. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? But if I know that I'm not in that position where I can do that, then I should be conscious enough to say, am I doing this for me? Am I being selfish? Or if I'm going to do this for my child, and then put the burden, because who wants to put the burden on a mother to do the job of just doing one part of raising the child when you got two to make one? That's what I'm saying.
And Josh Jamel, can I make one point before I lose it? So I did an Instagram, or maybe it was a YouTube thing, and I was watching Love and Hip Hop Guilty Pleasure, and there was young jock who has a lot of kids, mm-hmm. and he's married, and there was this episode where his wife was like, just get a vasectomy, you have all these kids, and she's saying that she's child free, she doesn't want kids, she's a lawyer, and she's just like, and he's just like, I'm not cutting off my manhood. And she was trying to help him think, like, you already have kids that are hard to take of now, but yet for a woman to have a hysterectomy, that's a major surgery where most men who've shared their experience of getting a vasectomy is in and out. So if he can do a simple procedure to prevent having baby number 9, 10, and 11, why not do that, opposed to her putting herself under the knife. So I think these conversations are really good. Again, I know a lot of times we get Nick Cannon is going to do him, but I also saw on TikTok where they were interviewing some guy. He has like 30 kids and he works at McDonald's. No shade to McDonald's, but if you think about 30 kids, and I don't know 30 different women, but they were trying to like help him understand. He's like, it is what it is. You know, there's maturity level there, but there are a lot of kids who are suffering, whether it's multiple kids, whether it's you have one child, but your mom has some type of mental health. So my platform, I don't tell women what to do. If you want to have five kids, I'm going to be your biggest cheerleader. But my platform is empowering those women who say motherhood is not for me. And there's nothing wrong with me. I'm tired of men and women and moms and dads saying, you need to have a kid. You need to have, there's 8 billion people on planet Earth. Me having one child, don't see how that's going to make a huge difference.
Well, I'm going to say this, and I don't have an opinion about Nick Cannon, because that's not my problem nor my concern. And the way I look at it is everybody's making a conscious decision. This show here is about making a conscious decision. So to bash him and then turn around and speak and promote this is like two different things. I can't bash him and not bash you. I can't promote you and not promote him. So I have no opinion one way or the other of whether he drops his seed in the toilet or he drop it in the woman. Either way it goes, you know what I mean? It's just the reality. We have opinions on individuals' lives, and this show is about promoting your conscious decision and these ladies' conscious decisions to say, you know what? I don't want to have children.
Yep.
It was his conscious decision, and he stated his conscious decision. So everybody has that, you know, to actually, so, you know what I'm saying? Everybody has an opinion. You can have an opinion, but the reality of it is your opinion doesn't matter in a situation when you already consciously said, this is what I'm going to do for me. And I was looking at a comment how she has a ex-husband who refused to get a vasectomy, even though they discussed being child-free and things of that nature, right? If you discussed had a conversation, you sat down with your mate, said, I don't want any children. So what are we going to do here? Are we going to pop Plan Bs every night? Are we going to wear condoms every night? Are you going to have a vasectomy every night? A vasectomy? Are you going to have a hysterectomy? You're going to get whatever needed to make sure we don't have this. That's a conscious decision that is to be made by not only you, but discussed with your mate. And like you said, giving someone the opportunity to say, you know what, I want children. I don't want to be in a situation where I don't want children. Well, then the doors of the church is open. You can walk your ass out. It's these are the things that we need to discuss and need to understand. Because me personally, I've never heard of being child free for as consciously outside of someone done had kids and then they done got their tubes tied, burnt, and snipped. Now, as far as not having a maternal instinct, this is new to me. So I'm here to learn and figure out when did this come about, like how and things of that nature, to see how young women don't want to be mothers, knowing that growing up as a child, your mother was steering you into becoming a wife and motherhood, because we're old enough to remember the easy bake ovens. We're old enough to remember them baby dolls that you would feed with the bottles and then also too they would wet themselves, you know. And these, you know, I mean, this is being honest. Like I remember my sister and them having the little vacuum cleaner bubble balls and stuff like that. So trying to figure out when and what point did it become I don't have maternal instincts, even though I was driven into this. Is this more so of programming for motherhood, and then getting to the point where you say, I'm going to deprogram myself, or a rebellious situation where you say, I don't want to live like this. You know what I mean? I don't want to be somebody's wife and feel like, what's that, Ward Cleaver's wife? You know what I mean? You don't want to be that way. If that's what it is, you know what I'm saying? have these conversations, because in the point of independence now, a lot of times women don't have time to sit home and cook and clean and rear children because of that. So these are the conversations needs to be had.
Josh Jamel, like hugs, hugs, hugs. And that's why I love this show.
Right.
And Real to Real, the name speaks for itself. Real conversations, 360, bringing it all the way back around. And I think you hit it on the head in regards to a programming, right? We don't know what we don't know, and what we know, we'd like to share it with others, right? So yeah, we had the easy bake ovens because that's what little girls were supposed to do, right? Now you have the little girls who it's okay for them to play with GI Joes, and that's a whole different topic. But it was a rearing of what women were told by their mothers and their mothers and their mothers. I don't necessarily think it's a rebellion. I do think it's like, this is something that I don't want. But I have talked to sisters who like, my mom had 8 kids and I was 10 years old taking care of all of them while my mom was out doing something else, right? So I've had women who say, I don't want to. Why did my mom put that burden on me? Was she responsible? Did she think she had 8 kids, took care of none of them? So that woman says, I don't want that for my life. I've already been a mother because I had to take care of my siblings. So I want a different life for myself. When it's all said and done, women today, I think, I would like to think that women are making the best decisions for them, whether that's motherhood, child-free, doing whatever the hell you want. It's life. We opt into making it what we want it to be. Now, we all know that life throws curveballs, but I would say that it's all of that. It's some women who are rebelling against motherhood because of their experiences. I also think women are just like, I just don't want to be a mom. And I think that maternal instinct, right? Because I think that's also programmed. Like, oh, you're so cute. You're gonna look at you holding your little baby. You're gonna be such a great. And then you think, oh, I've heard that 80 million times. I'm supposed to have a kid because I looked so cute at 5 holding my baby doll. But what if I don't want to? Will I still be appreciated, respected, and seen, right? People get on me sometimes with, oh, mother, child free, child free, child free. You know how many shirts there are with mom life and the best moms live? But I got on a t-shirt that represents Black women who are all child free. Oprah, Octavia, Tracy Ross, Ava, and me. That's empowerment. It's if I gave you a quarter, it's valuable on both sides. If that quarter is motherhood and on the other side, it's child free, it's still valuable. So instead of saying moms are here and women who don't want kids are here, why can't it be we just all in this together? Mom, I respect you, and child. So there are platforms where they bash moms. That's not NoBibsBurpsBottles. Moms come on different child-free pages all the time, criticizing us for being child-free. Oh, I was told recently, you'll never know what love is until you really have a baby. Having a baby, you'll know what. I know what real love is. I love my parents. I love me. I love my sister. I don't have to have kids to know what real love is. So in some communities, there's this tussle between moms who are like, your life is literally incomplete unless you have kids. We've been told that. Child-free besties, correct me if I'm wrong. But again, I don't tussle with women. I don't tussle with moms. I want moms to appreciate the platform, and I empower myself and child-free besties to do the same with mothers.
Dr. Harris, we got a question. When the panel says, Sister Rose Rosier, I know from Brooklyn. She says, why would a man and woman become mates if either one of them or the other doesn't want kids? Why waste each other's time? Could you answer that?
Good question. There are a lot of, and I'll take it from the child-free couples that I talk to. They are happy within themselves. I don't think there's a written rule that to get married, you must produce kids. Because if that was the mindset, what about so let's go with that. 2 people who love each other, they get married. Why get married if you're not going to have kids? But what happens if that woman had an accident who she can't give birth? Or what happens if that man's sperm is not as strong? Do they get a divorce because they can't produce kids? Or do they say, we're going to love each other and we're going to continue our lives? So there's nothing written in stone that marriage must produce kids. But again, I do think it's a conditioning of society. What's the purpose of getting married and having a mate? What's the purpose of even having sex if you're not going to procreate? Because people think, again, have sex. That's the, if we look at it from a religious standpoint, be fruitful and multiply, that's what we're supposed to do. But there could be complications, there could be trauma on why people don't do that. But I feel like I've contributed to society in so many ways. I have a legacy that I have an imprint that I know I'm going to leave on this world, and I'm doing it without having a little Angela or a little Angelo.
Right. The question that I was going to have, whether, do sometimes people think that or question your sexuality because of not having children? And when they do it and address the situation, because a lot of times I think I really don't know. Like I said, I'm trying to learn. But I would think that some people would take in question others' sexuality or why they don't have children. How do you address that? Because like you said, you you're fruitful, but you're just not multiplying.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So I personally haven't, I think I've had people question my sexuality because of my hair more often because it's shaved. And there's just assumptions, period, about that. I can't speak for myself because most of the time it's not like, oh, if they're thinking it, they haven't come out and asked it, or so there, it could be subconscious or consciously thinking it, but I haven't had personally to deal with that. However, when I interviewed Black men, and some of them were child-free or childless or in the middle, right? It was a great conversation with 4 brothers. One was a Black gay male, and there was a lot of assumptions about like, oh, you're gay, so why do you want kids? Or yeah, we assume that. And so he was sharing his experience, which I think was really, really good. So I would imagine those assumptions are made about women and men. If you don't have kids by a certain age, like, oh, like she must be gay, or he must be gay. So I wouldn't discount that, but I personally haven't had to deal with it. And what I would say is that 44% of the population don't have children. 57% of women, Black women are unmarried, right? And so I think when you think about the dating pool, and then again, you get to that ripe age of menopause, you can't just say, woe is me, I don't have kids, I'm less than, I don't have a husband, I'm just the scum of the earth. If you think like that, you're going to live like that. And if you live like that, you're going to have a miserable life. So I don't have a partner. I don't have children. Does that make me less than? And I would actually pose this question to you, because this is the question that I get from some child-free sisters of, when you were thinking about a potential partner, or when you were thinking about potential partners, would they have been seen less than if they said, hey, Josh Mel, like, thank you for feeling me, but I don't want any kids. Hey, KYs, I'm feeling you, but I don't want any children. Is that automatically viewed from a man's point of view as me being less than a woman? Real talk.
Okay, since you asked me first,
go ahead.
Since you asked me first, thank you. Because child support is a mother. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? You don't want them. I don't either. No, like seriously, I feel like that's a choice. I'm not going to never say yes or no, because to me, I feel the child is a blessing, regardless to whom or what. So if she don't want to, then she don't want to. That's not a sword that I'm going to put over her head. Just don't make it seem like it's one thing and it's something else to me. Right. You know what I mean? But again, child support is a mother.
Somebody put that in the comments.
Family court will kill you. You understand me? So, okay, your turn.
Well, I will put it like this. Number one, in the beginning stages of my life growing up, we were taught as a man, when you take a wife, you make a baby, because that's what we was traditionally taught. And we never really considered the thought of another woman to say, I don't want to, because we weren't built to think that way. So I have a lot of fun practicing. I've enjoyed practicing for many of years. I've had my children. I'm good. All I do is practice right now.
That's it.
That's all I want to do.
That's it.
But does the thought of having children still come around in my mindset every now and then? And at the age I am, if it happens, guess what? Then it happens because it was supposed to happen. But if not, guess what? I have no problems with it.
And child support is a mother. Do you understand
first here.
We ain't having that.
Family court will take every dime out of the black man's pocket. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
So, and also too, I have an issue, but this is a whole nother show. When the government becomes the father to your child, that's right. When I have an issue. So, but we're going back to this topic.
This is a great topic.
And I do have another point in regards to, and again, child-free besties, if you're here, kind of give me a thumbs up if you agree or if this has happened. But again, in this community that I'm building, and it really is a phenomenal community of women who are just like, Angela, you're not alone. But it's the question of why we get the question. So why didn't you ever want kids? But have you ever really stopped to think, if I was Josh Jamel, why did you want kids? Why do you have kids? Because it's almost like we have three heads because we've decided not to have kids. But if I really flipped it and said, why did you decide? What does bringing these human beings in the earth do for you? Because people will like to say that I'm selfish, but isn't it? One could say, wow, you really wanted to have these little beings of yous in the world. Mm-hmm. So I try to flip it on people who try to come at child-free sisters like something's wrong with you, or what's wrong with your uterus? What's wrong with you got female problems? No, but I would love to know why you had 5 kids. Tell me more.
Okay. Well, I don't have 5 children. Thank you very much.
You.
But I understand exactly what you're saying. A lot of times when we talk about why we have children, those of us who had children young, it was a unconscious behavior. You know what I mean? Not a conscious behavior. We were practicing, and all of a sudden we got it perfected. That's how it happened. There you go. Now, for those who say that because a woman don't have children that she's defective or things of that nature, that's harsh.
That's immaturity.
That's immature. That's harsh. Right. And on top of that, to me, that's very disrespectful. If you decide to say at whatever age you don't want children, that's your conscious decision. There's nothing has to be defective. There's nothing have to be wrong with you. You just made a decision to say, I don't want to have children with Lil Ray Ray or Pookie or whomever, or even that bougie stuck-up ass dude with the degree who thinks that he can get over because he has a degree and he has this job. You know what I mean? Because see, we always talk about that brother in the hood that don't have money and has all these children. But what about that same stuck-up ass dude that's in these and I hate to say it, these frats and everywhere else that are sitting here using women physically, planting seeds because they have these jobs and they're giving money, but they're not giving what a child really needs, which is an actual parent. So if that is what it is, then that's what it is. I'm not going to never say that you're defective or the guests are defective or people are defective because they don't have children. That's your conscious decision. Do I want to know what caused that conscious decision? Of course. You know what I'm saying? The same question you say, well, why did he make a conscious decision to have 20 children? I want to know that conscious decision too. That's not something that we sit up here and we like, man, he did his thing. You know, like the comments say, condoms when we was growing up was like a box was what, $1.50. They might not have fit right, but they was at least $1.50, right? Now I don't know what they are. You know what I'm saying? But I know they're giving them away at the health departments. They give them away at the high schools. So there is really no excuse for not having birth control. They have these things now called Plan B pills. They have all different type of injections and things of that nature. So if you don't want children, you know, or to have a child with someone, then there's things that you can do, right? And I'm looking at the time. I'm sorry, we coming to the end.
What time?
It's
What? Oh,
yeah,
man.
you see,
I love talking to you
This is
guys.
crazy.
you know what I mean?
Wow.
I want to say thank you for coming on. And of course, we would love to bring you back.
Oh,
We can
yes.
have this topic, even like a part 2 to this. And
Can I share something before we wrap
Absolutely.
up?
of course,
So if any of my child-free besties are still on, I love for you guys to put in the chat my slogan or one of my slogans, womanhood, and I'll let them share the rest. But I do have, again, with my platform, No Bibs Burps Bottles, being empowering child-free Black women to live their absolute best child-free life. Just like we see the mom tees, we have the child-free tees. So again, what you see me with Oprah, Octavia, Tracy, Ellis Ross, Avia, and me, and I think on the bottom it says child free. So we have our t-shirts that are popular. We have a child-free journal. Write your dreams and your manifestations in this. Know my life, my choice. All right. And then we have our logo tee. A new tee that we have, child-free besties. Child-free besties, stand up. Child-free bestie. And this is just like child-free sister. So again, a lot of people want to say, why do you keep talking about this? No one says anything about the mom that says proud soccer mom. You're not going up to her and saying, why do you have that t-shirt on? So if moms can be respected and adored, why can't we as child-free women have our platform where we can empower and feel good about ourselves? So check out NoBibsBurpsBottles.com for your child-free pride merch.
thank you. Because I was definitely going to ask you, where can they find the merchandise, and also to where can they join or get some resources from your organization?
Yeah. So we are most active on Instagram. So if you just put in No Bibs Burps Bottles on Instagram, again, you don't have to be child free, right? There are mothers who, that's our platform, right? That's my foundation, empowering Black child free women. And I'm unapologetic about that because I've had people say, why do you have to be Black? But anyway, but anyone, if you feeling what I said tonight, whether you're a mom, dad, parent, child, whatever, if you feel and appreciate and respect what I've shared tonight, you are more than welcome to follow us and find out more about what this child-free community is like. We're also very active on TikTok. We have a YouTube channel, No Bibs Burps Bottles, where I make videos and I really try to inform, educate, entertain about the child-free lifestyle. And again, also being a mental health advocate, you can also follow me at Harris316 Consulting and Services, where I talk about just mental health, wellness, and spirituality. So I would love for you guys to follow us at NBBB, No Bibs Burps Bottles. And if they haven't said it in the chat, womanhood is not synonymous with motherhood.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Harris. Thank you, ladies, for your comments. It was definitely educational tonight, and we would like to do a part 2, bring you on, and then maybe we can have the other guest that was supposed to come on tonight.
Yes.
And we could talk about unfertilized eggs and
Get
things
well
of that
soon.
nature.
Yes.
Get well soon.
Yes.
But ladies and gentlemen,
sorry. Go ahead.
You have tuned in to Real2reel360. Not one of the best talk shows on social media. The best Southern Soul, mental health, no bibs, burps, and bottles.
I'm glad you said it.
I'm glad I said it. Whatever resources you need, we provide it right here on Real2reel360.
Absolutely.
We're more than just what you think we are. And thank you for all your support. Hey, Waz?
You know the deal. Dr. Harris, it's always a pleasure. We want to thank you. And please, you already know this is your home. Ain't no home away from home. You home right here. So anytime, we thank you for it. This was very insightful because there's a lot of things I didn't know about this stuff either that I'm sitting up here. I was like blown away because you never know what's going on in some people's minds. And this is what needs to be expressed and talked about in many different ways. And I'm glad you was able to do it on our show.
Yeah.
And take that Barry White out your voice, man.
It ain't going nowhere. It ain't going nowhere.
That's natural.
Deal with
that
it.
ain't no natural.
Deal with it. Deal with it. All right. On behalf of my co-host, baby.
I love you guys.
We love y'all. We love y'all.
love
Thanks for
y'all,
tuning in to the Real2reel360 show, and we will see you again when we see you. All right. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, ladies and gentlemen, we starting to come to the end of the show. Right now, I want to take the time out and thank our guests for coming on. Also, too, we want to make sure that y'all listening and subscribing, and tell a friend and keep sharing, because we're going to keep bringing y'all the real content. You know what I mean? So, DJ K-Wise, my brother, take us up out of here, son. Peace.
I want to give a big shout out to the nation of gods and earth, to all the human families on the planet Earth. I say peace. But to our subscribers, those who continue to watch and listen to the show each and every time we come on, I give a big shout out of love, peace, and happiness to you. The beast of man, woman, and child of the universe. It's time for us to disperse. We bring the best, not the worst. We thank you once again for tuning in to the Real 360. Bring a friend to hit that like and subscribe, so we continue to grow, to bring more knowledge and wisdom to you. Upon our show, you make it possible for us to do what we do. Now it's time I end it just the way I